Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folarin. So there we are. We have it. We have a budget of consolidation, 8.61 trillion naira, and of course we'll go into aspects of it. Our guest this morning, Sam Daisy Olisa, economist. Thank you for coming. And
thank you for having me. Good morning.
Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, stockbroker and financial analyst. Thank you
it's a pleasure being
for
here
coming
today.
on as well. Well, you people, especially the stockbrokers, the financial analyst people, the economists, usually have issues with all of these kind of documents. But so let me just start from the beginning. 8.61 trillion. It's an ever so slight increase over last year. But two things stand out. One, the presentation of it now, which means that we should have a working budget, all things being equal, by the 1st of January. That's the theory, right? The president himself even suggested that 1 month should be, enough to look at the matters. And then the other thing, of course, is that it's going to depend largely, as experts are telling us, on the extent or how well the budget is implemented. Give me your thoughts on this budget.
It's a beautiful document.
But we always say that.
Yes.
You never said that anyone is ugly.
No. It's a very good document.
So it comes down to implementation.
Yes, it comes down to implementation. But when you look at this budget, you tend to see a slight deviation from what we normally have before.
Okay.
Capital projects, and we are beginning to see capital tied to specific projects. Then again, we are now beginning to know how we are going to go about these projects. Now, we're talking about borrowing for some of these projects, which is tied down there again. So we've never had it like that. We are seeing the government saying, look, the president saying, look, I'm going to put a stop to employment because the current expenditure is going higher. But then when you look at the current expenditure, you begin to ask yourself, who are these people that really, is the political appointees, secretary, special assistant to special assistants and stuff like that. I wonder how he wants to get against that, and for a government that wants to create employment. So when you look at that again, then you look at the timing, like you said, the presentation. This is the first time we're having the budget presented this early in during any civilian administration. But if you listen to the body language of the Senate President and then the Speaker of the House of Representatives and even the members of the House, after the presentation by the president, there is cause for worry, knowing fully well that you are not sure that January 1st is it. Because, you see, sometimes we do things in this country, we don't look at the legislature aspect of it, because already, due to things like this, the National Assembly have made provision that the budget of 2017 has the lifespan to run for another 5 to 6 months.
Yes.
So that is still there. So they want to use that as a yardstick to take their time, because the financial year end, as far as they are concerned, ends in May.
Yeah, but the president wants to reset matters.
You see, when the president wants to reset matters, remember I listened to the chairman of the House and Appropriation. He said it would take them about 6 weeks to finish taking details, that is from every appropriated committee to sit down. It will take them 6 weeks. And he said sometime they ask the executive for some specifics which they are not able to explain, and they will not just go ahead. So there's a lot of work to be done. And then we look at the benchmark.
Yes.
The benchmark is fantastic, $45 per
$45.
barrel. And we are doing 60-something now already.
Well, that was just, that was a stroke of luck.
Yeah, what a stroke of luck. But if you remember the last time,
the turbulence in Saudi Arabia,
Well, the last time they pegged it at 38, and we got to 40-something.
Okay.
So we should be saving money, which for me is a good thing. But not to forget that was what happened the last year. The executive pegged it at, I think, 36, and the legislature moved it to 38, and then put a specific project where they have increased it, that by the increment, we have made provision. So, and it's not in the... You see,
they're not allowed to do that, are they?
The executive are the ones that know how much they are going to have.
Exactly.
But they will not increase it because they have the power according to them. And the executive were trying to challenge that power through going to court, going to the Supreme Court. We have not gotten a judgment on that yet. So we'll see that play out.
Okay. Sam, your thoughts on this, especially the the earliness with which the president is, presenting this and his intentions, which is that we should take off. And he's quite optimistic that 4 weeks should be enough. If, yes, I know that Mukhtar has said that they've said it will take 6 weeks. But if everybody is working with the same purpose and working around the clock because it has an emergency, it can be done, can't it?
The economy is the same ceteris paribus. That is, all of that has been equal except one. I think the president met well, the executive met well by presenting it early. But from what we have been experiencing, particularly in this regime, this 8th Senate, I don't think the budget will be passed before the end of the year. I don't think so. And there is no cause for alarm for that, because we are still running the budget of 2017. Don't forget,
well,
the capital vote.
We have that margin, right?
In the capital vote of about 1.2 trillion, only 450 billion has been released. So that cushion is still there for us. There's no cause for alarm. But my major concern, is implementation of our budgets. That is my concern. One, those budgeted figures, are they not overpriced? Fortunately for Nigeria now, the crude oil price has picked up due to factors around the world. And Nigeria too has benefited from exemption from cap on output. And this year's output, we increased it a little bit to 2.3 million barrels per day. Then with the improved price, a lot of inflow will be coming in. But our expeditions, are they well priced? Those contracts that will be issued, are they not overvalued? How can, the concern should be the implementation in which ordinary man in the street will feel the impact of the budget. Right now, in theory, Nigeria is out of recession, but the ordinary man is still feeling the hardship. So I'm not looking at Nigeria always have good budget, fantastic document, good grammar, good presentation. But is there monitoring? Is there good implementation? This year, the executive and the legislature should put aside every rancor. They should work together for the goodness of ordinary man in the street. So it's not just good enough to have good budget, but it is very good enough to have good implementation.
Indeed.
That is where...
As to the cooperation between the executive and the legislature, the Senate president seemed to indicate that indeed that was the way they were looking at it, to work, profitably with the executive, work together with them. I suppose it's the only thing, not just the right thing, the only thing to say. After all, they are in the same party. But it needs to be seen how all of this shall pan out. That's one thing, and thank you for your perspectives in that regard. Then this whole matter about the ease of doing business with Nigeria. Surely those kind of things must factor in too. The president was particularly happy that we had moved up a few notches, I think, if I remember correctly, from 160-something position out of 190, I think we've moved up to 1.4. There you go. So, but that is key, isn't it? Because we can't be an island unto ourselves. And if everybody is shouting that Nigeria is a terrible place to do business, that won't be furthering our aims.
I celebrate our movement, but I'm not excited about it. Because when you look at those people that we are above, those people that were contemporaries, were in those regions with countries like Pakistan, Niger, and we pride ourselves as the fastest growing economy, one of the biggest economy, one of the second largest economy in Africa, and one time the largest economy in Africa. And here we are at the league with those countries. The only the only name I saw in that list that I think, okay, we could say, okay, very, very, we have passed them a little, and we are not even in the same category with them, but the rate, because of their population and the rate of poverty, also there is high. But they are also indigenizing their economy. That's the Indian. But every other people that are there, we didn't see any reason. Sri Lanka. I don't know why we should be celebrating if we are up there with South Africa in the ease of doing business. I give it to the government, but people are looking at it. The ease of doing business that the government have actually done it's not the physical side that we've been shouting about. Now, the ease of doing business has come in terms of infrastructure, and the only place that they have gotten it right in terms of infrastructure, and they have not gotten it all right, is in the airport. If you go to the airport now, you seem to see friendly immigration officers. They moving from NDLE to one people. To, it's not. They make the
sort
east
of consolidated.
They consolidated, and so you could do one thing at a go. And then when you go there, the elevators in the airport seems to be working. It's a little bit cooler now. And a lot of, that's the only place I've seen in terms of key infrastructure. When it talks of road network, when we talk of power, when we talk of technology. If you want to do the ease of doing business, in developed country, you go to the airport, you see people still doing their business, sitting down in the airport because there is a Wi-Fi there that is free for them to use to do their business. So we need to start, if we want to be the best, we need to compete with the best. So from 165 to 124, but we need to look at ourselves. Who are we beating to get to 124? We are not beating those people that actually, we are not competing with the Brazil of this world. We are not even competing with the Indonesians of this world. We are not even competing with Botswana in Africa.
Sam, as an economist, you're probably going to be very interested in this because an economy that is invested in probably has a better chance. Now, how important do you think this whole matter about ease of doing business in Nigeria is actually?
Of course.
In practical terms, bearing in mind Mukhtar's
like you said,
overview.
It's good that we move a little bit. I think we move about maybe 26 points.
Yes.
But we are not amongst our peers. Like I said, that South Africa, but
for
that
example,
is not,
for example, Sam, maybe the first 5, for instance, in terms of easy to do business in countries, what is it that they are doing that for some reason countries like ours are not able to move into the top 5?
Thank you very much.
What are those challenges?
The first one, when you register your business. When you come in, you register business, it shouldn't take more than 24 hours. But in Nigeria, when you want to register business, you go to Abuja, everything centralized. Then it takes time, it takes a lot of time to do that. It shouldn't be so. So we should be able to register our business online, pay the necessary fee online, do verification online, particularly that we are now in biometric era. So why do we have all those biometric information collected in the bank, in the national identity card? So you don't even need to go there physically.
Yes. So we don't have that kind of a setup.
We don't have it now.
Even the driving license, if it's not related to this, even the driving license, they will tell you can complete the entire process online. It is a lie. Yes. It is a lie.
Of course,
because you will proceed and try,
and
then you still have to approach FRSC, and you will be told that please start the manual process here.
They will still refer you to a driving school.
Thank you very much. So they make it not work.
A DOD certificate.
Thank you very much.
So when we're talking of ease of doing business, we are not yet there.
Well, okay.
It's good that we have started the journey, but we are not yet there. But I also like to look at the structure of the budget, particularly the area of divestment. If you look at this year's budget, the amount going into the federation account is about 11.6 billion going to the federation account, out of which 6.387 trillion or 53.3% is from oil and gas. Why the remaining 5.597 or 46.7% is from non-oil sector. And this is a good development, that we are increasing the proportion of the non-oil sector. As a matter of fact, this trend should continue. I'm looking forward to, in another 2-3 years, where the non-oil sector will be contributing about 70% of our federation account. Then if you come down a little bit more,
that's an optimistic. That's an optimistic
yes, and
one.
That is what
because
we
even in the West, paradoxically, they are still projecting an increase in demand for oil. What, 5 years from now?
They are looking at green.
In spite of all those green things.
But what we are saying is that there's nothing wrong in jacking up our non-oil sector. Okay. Then if you look at the federal government proportion, what the federal government is taking, oil and gas is only bringing in 2.442 billion, which is 38.2%. Why no oil sector? is contributing 4.165 billion. For the federal government of Nigeria, that is 74.41%, which is very, very encouraging too. But going back to state governments, that's why we said that the states, they go cap in hands to Abuja every month. The oil sector, the revenue they are expecting, their own share, is 3.945 billion, which is about 73.34%, where the non-oil sector will contribute only 1.432 billion, which is only 26.66%. So that means the state governments and the local governments need to look more inwardly to generate more revenue so that they don't start go cap in hands. And at this point, we now link it with the devolution of economy. I don't call it devolution of power. Some of the economic activities in the exclusive list, the National Assembly can now put it in concurrent. Some of it, they should look at it, so that the state government will have the ability to generate revenue, to shore up their own revenue, to be less dependent on oil revenue, and to be less dependent on Abuja. That's the area I'm looking at from this budget.
Also, they're going to have to perhaps also additionally cut losses. I think, was it Lagos State that was announcing that it had benefited, is the only, well, one of the few states, let me just ensure myself, that have adopted the TSA. On the one hand, newspaper reports say the federal government is saving 24.7 billion, as a naira, as a result of the, of this regime. And I think Lagos State, if I remember correctly, I saw a news item yesterday. They were also saying that they had, cut all of these losses. So every little bit is going to matter. So everything depends on the attitude, the cap-in-hand attitude that he was talking about. If people can get creative, perhaps all of that will factor into this particular thing working. Yeah,
when you look at the budget, another good area I saw in the budget is that the government is trying to build up its fund. They invested about $500 million in the sovereign wealth fund, which is one thing that we've been shouting for, clamoring for a while. That shows that the savings that we are making from the oil is being diverted to other areas to build another means of income for them. I don't tend to agree with him when it comes to, like, say 70%. And I mean,
that we can be making non-oil 70%.
Yes, you use your strength to develop other areas of income. As it stands now, our major strength still is the oil sector. Now, how well do we use it is what has been drawing us back. If you look at countries like United Arab Emirates, oil is their strength, but they use it to diversify into other areas like tourism and co. If you look at Norway, oil is also their strength, but they are diversified into production of vessels, making it their place a vessel hub for world vessels to just come out and giving incentives. So Nigerians should begin to look at that. Then when you look at, like you were saying, like diversifying our economy, I ask myself, what are the competitive advantage are we going to use to diversify our economy? When you talk of agriculture, agriculture is so large. We have animal husbandry, we have fruits, we have horticulture, we have cropping, we have the cash crop. So Nigeria, where are we going to be? If you talk of Ghana, you don't just call Ghana agriculture. There's a Pacific. They talk of cocoa, Ivory Coast cocoa. But when you talk of Nigeria, what do we see? Are we cocoa? We are no more producing cocoa like we used to. Is it cassava? So we need to get our
mining.
We need to have our, when they say something, they should link up with Nigeria. That is when we begin to say we are diversifying our economy. It's not diversifying by trying to play to the gallery to import yam to USA, and within the high sea, the yam got spoiled, and we say it's political and stuff like that. And meanwhile, Ghana import yam to US, and no one has spoiled in the high sea. So that is one. Then the other thing I'm excited about is that the government saying we are going to pay local contractors. It's a good development. Some of these local contractors have been sacking people because they were not able to pay. Government. It's a very good development.
Indeed. Very good development. Is in the process of verifying, some aspects of it, but that they are committed to paying.
About 50%.
Sam, that's also...
it's a very good development.
But if you want to, I wonder if you wanted to comment on the previous issue about...
Yes.
Look, what does it mean, non-oil, economy? Where would our focus be?
You see, in
we don't have cocoa anymore. Rubber, we don't have. Groundnuts, we don't have.
Yeah, when the World Bank or the Bretton Woods, they always talk about complementarity of adjustment and financing. When you are adjusting your economy, you need to fund it. What I said about the 73% or 70%, I'm not saying we should undermine oil sector.
No, but that's a wish.
Yes. I said from this year's budget, you will see that the expected revenue of the federal government, less is from oil sector, more is from non-oil sector. And I said that is good for the Nigerian economy. As far as the federal government budget is concerned, it's only the state governments that they are expecting more from the oil sector, less.
But even with the federal concern now that we're expecting more, from agriculture, for instance, where might we focus on?
So what we're saying in essence is that when we're talking of agriculture, geographical map of Nigeria, we have cash crops, then we have other crops. You remember in the old system where we have the western region, the eastern region, and the northern region, the three major cap crops were what they depended on to run the economy. So we can still go back there. I'm not saying, Nigeria is so large, you can't compare Nigeria to Ghana. Ghana zeroed in on cocoa because they fed that. In terms of comparative advantage, they have it in cocoa. Every Coast took cocoa from Nigeria. They zeroed in on cocoa. Nigeria can still revamp the cocoa. There are states that have the comparative advantage. For instance, Ondo State, you don't start running a metropolitan government. You run an agrarian government. You can revitalize the cocoa. While the northern region can revitalize the groundnut and the cotton, then the palm produce can be revitalized in the eastern part of Nigeria. That's when we're talking of diversification. That does not even mean that we shouldn't also have other crops like cassava.
Well, yes. So if all these things you're mentioning happen to be what is being thought about, because you are making these suggestions, and they are the people that came out and said, look, agriculture needs to make much more of a contribution than it has been making, then we're on the right course.
Yes. If we are, the only problem we have is that when the minister said, if you want to export, you should find out the type of crops you export and how do you produce it. When the minister announced that yams, Nigeria can now export yams, I laughed. Because most of the yams we are growing in Nigeria are grown with chemical fertilizer. Even when you buy it from my 12, you bought too many at once, they will get rotten before you finish it. Not even to talk of sending it abroad. If you want to grow crops that you want to export, you don't use chemical fertilizer.
Organic farming.
You use organic fertilizer. Those are the areas. I expect this government to employ experts so that they can contribute.
Excellent mention. But at a government level, at a farming level, I imagine they take this kind of stuff for granted. I mean, I'm just imagining that this is part of the expertise and tech. People in the ministry will know about this. Agriculturists will know about this.
They
right?
do.
They do. But so they're not about to make a mistake. They're not about to make the kind of mistake you're speaking about.
They do, but the problem in Nigeria is that when everybody hears that they're making money here, we just rush there.
Okay.
And the government is not guiding. Government has good policy, but the orientation, they should come out with good orientation to guide exporters. Okay. We have the Export Promotion Council. We have all those, we have NEXIM, we have other agencies that could do this. So I think that is part of what we call thorough implementation of budgets.
What do you think, Mukhtar? I read somewhere something about the migration. It was to Senate President Bukola Saraki saying that the migration from the rural area to the urban area is worrying. So I want to put this under the whole attitude, the whole aspect of, even when it comes to corruption, another major matter in this administration. Oftentimes we've sat down here and said, is the Nigerian really, is his mind really centered on fighting corruption, or is he paying lip service? Now we come to this particular aspect. For people to engage in agricultural endeavors, it's not what urban people do. Now, a lot of us, everybody wants to come, and everybody should have a right to come to Lagos. You are in Lagos, you left your village. You are in Lagos, you left your village. So everybody has a right to do likewise. So what is it that's going to say that, you know what, guys, different strokes for different folks, but it's a paying proposition if you want to go back to the land.
That's why we talked about infrastructure. When we talk about good road network, now we talk about the rail system. If you have that in place, power.
Maybe that explains the lion's share of, as one newspaper put it, Fashola's ministry, talking about works, housing, and transportation.
Yeah, because if we are able to get...
transportation being Amechi's side
exactly.
of things. Works, housing, and there's one more. Power.
If we have those things, works, good road, power, good supply of electricity, then the rail system, the transportation system, if we have it in place, I don't see, because they are now, will be able to earn money. Now, why do they come from that? You need to study why they are actually leaving the rural area and coming to the city. Their capacity to earn is not there. Because they earn some of this product, they take it to the road to sell to people. And the roads are bad, so most people are not flying the roads again. So how do you buy those products from them? So they rather come to Lagos and begin to look for another means of livelihood. Just do Okada, just do tricycle. They have means of livelihood. What they are looking for is a means of livelihood. And livelihood will not come. Livelihood comes over what you supply and the demand on it. So when the man in my village knows that he can take his product from my village with a good road network within 5 hours and get to Lagos and sell it and then get back to the village and use that money, because it will be cheaper for him to build a good house in the village, to enjoy the good things of life in the village. Then he will not think of coming to the city to wake up early in the morning, to be into traffic and everything. So when he comes and I say, look, I can't be here. No, let's look at developed nations. If you travel over the world, you see, their incentive given to people to even stay outskirts of towns. Either land use charge is different, tax incentive is different, because you are staying at outskirts of town. They are trying to develop those areas, trying to discongest the town. So we need to go to that. But we cannot get that without infrastructure. And when these infrastructure are being constructed, when works are being done, remember these same villagers are going to have employment. So how would they now be thinking of coming to Lagos to stay and begin to look for jobs?
Indeed.
So there's a lot to be done. Infrastructure is our strongest, our biggest challenge. If we can get our infrastructure facility right, especially like you said, power, and then the road network, we're able to connect within ourselves. We are now able to have a good road, and then coupled with that, we now have securities. We shouldn't get out of security for the road, because when somebody is moving your car, break down, you are able to safely say, look, I can call somebody to fix my car and I'll stay here. I'm not...
It's all part of it.
Yeah.
This is all part of infrastructural
this thing.
Sam, would you like, because it's such a wide subject, would you like to speak to the whole matter of tightening up taxation? That also came up.
Yeah, the government have given out an incentive already.
Yes.
That people should voluntarily pay up tax, where fines and interest will be forgiven.
Can be forgiven.
I think...
and don't forget, that's a major weakness, because it is reported if they don't take it from source, Nigerians are not particularly enamored of walking up and saying, this is my tax.
If there are incentives for people to work and generate income, for instance, you can't ask unemployed people to come and pay tax. If there are incentives for people to work and generate income, the infrastructure is there, the power is stable, then the road network, the rail, because the rail too has to be developed, so as to take out the heavy haulage that spoils our roads quickly. You have to take them to the rail. So if one of those are there and people are generating income, there's no reason why they wouldn't pay tax with encouragement, because that will boost the revenue of the federally collected or state revenue to be boosted very seriously. But when you look at the situation where the roads are so bad, Then there's no opportunity in the villages. Then even the little opportunities available, there's no encouragement. There's no access to loan. The federal government did some loan development the last 1 year, but how many people benefited compared to the whole population? So all those have to be expanded. Some of these functions have to be devolved to states because states are closer to the people. Not instead of unnecessarily handling it by the federal government. You take it to the state level, the state is closer to the citizens where they can benefit. So these are some of the things that can be done to encourage people moving away from rural area to urban area.
Okay, well, to just recap, Sam has said that he's doubtful if we'll be able to actually have a budget approved and completed, nice, tied with a bow by January 1. People have begun to indicate that maybe the president's 4-week time. Well, I said if everybody wanted to make it happen, it could happen. But let's take a quick break. We'll come back and, of course, we'll include your calls. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. The president has just presented a budget. Everybody's saying it's a fine document, all things considered, but we've never had a problem with fine documents. It's rather the implementation. And we've been looking at, in fact, the gentlemen before me, you know, Sam Daisiolis and Mukhtar Mohammed, have been explaining really, even though I didn't ask the question, why Power Works and Housing Ministry and the Transportation Ministry have got the lion's share of this budget. It's principally for what you've been speaking about from the top. Once we can, in short, it's an enabling environment, right? You create that enabling environment between Power Works and Housing and transportation. Everybody else is important as well. Once we can get that. Now, still, you can imagine Power Works and Housing people. Well, they are looking at it, but they might be saying that 555 billion is not even enough for what they have to do, you know.
Right. I looked at the budget.
Let me take Isaac, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
You know. Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
And good morning to your guest.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I'm Ishak, I'm calling from Jos.
Thank you.
Uncle Yori, I watched the president yesterday when he was presenting the budget before the national legislatures. I think the budget, 8.6 trillion naira budget, is okay, it's the highest in the history of the nation. But my concern is, yes, we have a budget presentation. How is it going to be actualized? Maybe it's a different thing. But I want to suggest that we should, though it's a departure from the past because there's no subsidy, whatever that used to represent about 1.7 trillion in the previous budget under the Jonathan administration. I think we should give kudos to this administration that it has been able to eliminate the so-called subsidy that used to happen in the previous system. But I want to suggest that they should reduce or stop borrowing completely. Because the borrowing is that we are gradually returning to debt nation. And we should emphasize on in other revenues like tourism, etc. Because in the performance of the 2017 budget, I understand by September, the projection was supposed to be 600 billion naira, but it was shortfall. After September, we understand that what was realized was about 155 billion naira. So there is a shortfall from the expected revenue from other sectors outside oil sector. And I appreciate at least the capital project. There was about 30% was voted for capital. I think it's also departure from the past. And the capital project represents a real road construction, etc. So, but the borrowing, like I said earlier, government should.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in, Ishak. Okay, gentlemen. Well, it sounds good from an individual point of view, but business doesn't, countries and business and economies don't work like that.
No, not at all. Nobody will grow his business with his own personal money. That's why you go to borrow money. Now, let me tell you something. This government is doing some things right.
No, but it sounds well. If you were to explain it for the economics for the dummy, why borrow?
Okay, good. Now, I'm going to say why this government has gotten it right in terms of borrowing. They are borrowing for Pacifics. They are borrowing to tie to Pacific projects, which is good compared to before. Now, look at this government also. They are doing another thing right. They are borrowing and they are tying to Pacific, and they are trying to reduce their borrowing. The borrowing level of last year budget this year is going to be lower than last year. They are trying to improve because their revenue to debt level is still high. So they are trying to bring down their revenue to debt level. And how are they going to achieve it? They know that borrowing internally is very expensive because they will be borrowing more in double digits. So they are going to borrow externally on single digits and bringing it here. And part of those money they are borrowing also to service internal debt. So they are trying to create a bandwagon whereby private sector will begin to galvanize the economy. And you know government cannot give the kind of employment the private sector is going to give. So, and again, even the largest economy in the world still borrow.
Okay.
So, the level of debt, in order to add,
so very,
the external loan they are borrowing, apart from the single-digit interest rate, it has longer repayment period.
Okay.
So that they will wind down domestic debt. They will pay contractors. It will stimulate the economy. Okay. Then they will save money by not paying double-digit interest.
Okay. So there you go, Ishak. A very, very, very short answer to the point, the problem you raised about why borrow at all. Now, thank you very much, Samson, for holding on in worry. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori and our co-panelists.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Uncle Yori, please, you are going to pay me. In fact, you have spent nothing less than 10 minutes out of my credit.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Okay, sir. So, if you should check the breakdown of this right budget, I'm looking since yesterday, I have the paper. I try to meditate, sir. If you can check what our resources, sir, we have 95.11 billion naira, of which in education we have 61.73. Understand? Sir, I don't know. I don't understand that very. Maybe you're going to break it down for me. What do they mean by water resources? Because me, since I was maybe I was 5 years old then till now, I've not seen anything like water resources within my community. That's another thing entirely. Then, sir, maybe you should help me to look down at the breakdown very well again. I don't see youth and sports. Why do they keep youth and sports development? Now we're going to World Cup now, 2018. What's going to eat? At the end of the day, we tell us no money. They don't budget. At least that minister for youth and sport or something, or social development. Sir, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Samson, for calling in. Please, Sam.
We're still working with the highlights of the budget. By the time the full detail comes out, it will see youth and sports. It will see what is allocated to each department, agency, and ministry. Then, when I look at this budget, looking at what they reported in today's paper, that more money is allocated to works, power, housing, transportation. If you really want to grow the economy, those are the areas. Then, and I look at the capital vote. Power, works, housing got 555.88 billion.
That's right.
Transportation got 263.10 billion. Special intervention, 150 billion. Then defense I used to get huge amount before. It used to confess. Even that time, even with the huge amount allocated to defense, we're not winning the Boko Haram war. But with this one, our defense is 145. It's lower than power, works, and housing, lower than transportation. And if you want to grow the economy, these are the areas you will look at. Then going to recurrent expenditure. I also look at the priority. Interior, 510.87. There are a lot of ministries, a lot of departments under interior. Most of this money will be spent to pay salaries, for training. Then when workers get salaries, they will be able to buy food, they will be able to buy inject the money to the economy. And the marginal propensity to consume will stimulate the growth in the economy. And don't forget the target for the growth is 3.5. We're coming out of recession. And I think this is why the government prioritizes these sectors. Like education, 435 billion. Defense, that is for recurrent, 422.43 billion. Because most of the people that are on the field, the police, the paramilitary, the military, they have to be paid. So they have to be motivated. So I think, and health, crucial aspect,
yes.
269.34 billion.
Okay, I'm going to come back
This
to
is
you.
the right way to go.
Okay, okay. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Well, Uncle Yori, a lot has been said about implementation of budget. The area I want to point out my concern is this project, Lagos-Calabar Rail Project. You know, in 2016, it was a fight between the executive and the legislature. In 2017, it was also prominent project. We are talking about 2018 now. But what is the progress so far? I'm not aware of anyone that has seen a rail track on that project. I may be wrong, but I need to be, corrected. Be that as it may, Uncle Yori, when I heard a president reeling out his achievement, economic achievement, that is, I was wondering what is the work of Minister of Information. Minister of Information was more effective as a party spokesman than a government spokesperson. The president talked about so many things. He talked about resuscitation of rolling mills. He talked about completion of the rail between Kaduna and Kano. He talked about so many things.
Okay.
And people are not aware of all these things.
So why didn't we hear about this before, eh?
Yes. So, and we have the Minister of Information whose job is to inform people about what the government is doing, but we don't hear from him.
Okay. All right,
I'm just
then.
wondering.
Okay, Mr. George.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Now, another aspect I wanted us to touch on, I really wanted to clarify that whole thing. Some of the assumptions in this budget is $45 benchmark for crude oil. As of yesterday, I believe it had shot to 62. We know the turmoil going on in Saudi Arabia, and all of that. And I just wanted to find out, we've been used to stable pump prices. Are we likely to see an increase in the pump price? Because other economies are saying that, you can look forward to that.
You see, I was discussing with somebody yesterday. I said it's a good thing when the oil price starts getting up and we're excited. But we don't look at the internal problem because the subsidy thing will begin to play out there because we are still not producing enough for consumption within our country.
This is the problem.
That's the problem. So somebody, the other guy now pointed out, the other caller pointed out that we no more pay subsidy. And listen, there are other ways there. They peg the benchmark at 305. This benchmark at 305 can only be gotten by the petroleum marketers.
Yes.
They are the only ones. So that's the other way of paying them subsidy.
That's another
but me and you, we can only go, and then every other manufacturer goes to get it through the import and export window that have been created by the CBN in the stock exchange. And they get it at 360, 365. So them pegging it at 305 or is a challenge. And remember, we are rejoicing over the oil price production level we're saying, well, but we should not forget that we have graveyard peace in the Niger Delta at the moment as we stand here.
Indeed.
Because they are very
I know you want to come on it, and I'm going to come to you, but I have a caller waiting. Okay. So let me come from there and come straight to you. Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio. Honestly, the guest at the left hand side said, the fertilizer rotten yam, it's a true story. I think the Nigerian government should learn a lot on that. You see, the budget is okay, and the honorable members should be fast in their deliberation on the budget. You see, any budget in Nigeria that does not benefit the down children is not the complete budget. Now, thank God that the president, what he said at the dialogue with the Niger Delta boys, the Avenger, I thank God. I was so happy on that statement. Mr. Yodisa, please help me tell our senators and the House of Rep members what they did yesterday during the time for prayer. does not depict their personality. You see, when they started prayer, the more they started shouting, that is disrupting the prayer, which is not good. Okay. Because anything we do, we have to call God. Even before you leave your house, we have thanked God for the day. Anything we have to call God to help us so that whatever we do, because anything, prayer, please, our senators, they should not pray with it.
All right,
our House of Rep members, anytime they are saying prayer, please, they should take into consideration. Prayer is very, very important for anything we do. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you for calling in. Yes,
yes.
Sam,
the
expectation that there might be a rise in the pump price of fuel.
No, there's no cost for subsidy.
No, I'm not even talking about subsidy.
There's no cost for alarm, sorry. I wanted to say there's no cost for alarm.
Because, you know, when
yes, I know. Now, during the PDP regime, right here, Yori, we used to argue, we used to tell them, if oil price is going up, should it be a blessing or a curse? It should be a blessing. But they made it a curse on Nigerians by telling us that because the international price is rising on what we have, therefore we have to pay more. Which logic? There's no logic in that. I think if our refineries should work, if they don't, we've done it in the past. We should have dedicated crude to be refined outside and brought back to cushion that aspect until our refineries work. And again, the modular refineries to be given very good thought. We need small refineries all over the country.
Okay.
But in the short run,
so you don't
there's no cause for any alarm.
You don't see an increase in the pump price.
This government is not as morose as the previous government.
Yes.
That will be telling us that when the price of our own good is rising, there should be a cost for us.
Okay, Hassan in Lekki, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, the two panelists, Mukhtar and Mr. Olisa.
Thank you. Good morning.
You have made a very good observation, and you made an objective analysis of the economy. I really thank you people for helping Nigeria. But please, about this agriculture, there's one thing we fail to understand. And if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Issue of security. Lack of security is driving a lot of people away from their farmlands. This issue of kidnappers in the rural areas, go to the northern part of the country, is very, very rampant. Even the villagers are conniving with the kidnappers to kidnap people. We don't want this thing to continue. It's a serious problem to agricultural development. The government must sit up over it. It's a very serious issue because we are all saying we should go back to the farm. When you get back there, you get kidnapped. What is going to happen? And about the project implementation in Nigeria,
yes,
please, we need a very serious attention to be given to the project implementation. Whenever you budgeted money for anything, there must be a progress report on it. We trusted this government, we believe in this government. The executive should sit up very well. Good morning, everybody.
Indeed, thank you very much.
I want to just make something disagree with what he said about the international. I mean, the price, when the price goes up, it becomes a cost because of it has nothing to do with mismanagement. Just take the instance of the gas to power issue that we've been having now in terms of pricing. Now you're talking about moving it from Nigeria back to a place, then you refine it and bring it back. Now, they've calculated the cost of refining of fuel, bringing it back to Nigeria. It's not as high as the cost, but when it gets to our seaports, the time of betting, when it's there, the charges, the tax, and government say, look, that's where we generate our own income to. We cannot go down on it. So it's not, if the government go down on it.
No, I disagree with you.
If the government go down on it.
I disagree with you. He said the same.
Okay, one moment, sir. I want to hear that disagreement, but let me take Femi, who's calling from Surulere. Good morning, Femi.
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The way I see that budget is a lazy man's budget. It's a lazy man budget in the sense that the tax we are collecting in Nigeria, as of now, is less than 5% of what we should collect. The life wire of this administration, for them to move forward, is to go out for tax. All those people were praising Sardauna, Awolowo, and all these things. They depended on tax. It was tax that we were using to run this country. 90% of the countries in the world don't depend on oil. They depend on tax.
Okay.
Look at Lagos State. Lagos State alone, if all the state governments collect property tax, if your rent is property tax on rent, look at if you are collecting 2 million on your house in Lagos and you are asked to pay 10% of that amount of money to the state government, you will see a lot of development in Lagos State. The governor of Lagos State has been able to construct 200 roads in 2 years. In 4 years, maybe 400 roads. How many roads are in Lagos?
Okay, so focus on tax. What you're saying,
on tax.
They got to focus more on
that's
tax.
What I'm saying.
All
the
right.
Property tax, even the state government, if they collect property tax, at least 10 of them will not need to go to Abuja before they can do things.
Thank you very much for calling in. We're fast running out of time, but I wanted to hear your response to this whole question of this thing that is happening now. We are happy because what we are selling, we can sell it higher. Now, but it's going to result in an increase in the pump price of fuel.
What I'm saying is that it shouldn't result to that. It should not, since the general price level, I mean, the income of Nigerians have not changed. You are not saying because you are selling crude oil at higher price, you are distributing, you are increasing the income of Nigerians.
You know, they said we've removed subsidy.
No,
we don't want to be shackled
yes, what
by
I'm saying,
subsidy.
comes in two areas, in the parity of the price or parity of exchange rate. Government has pegged exchange rate for fuel importers. He said it. We are all aware. As an incentive for them to for the price to stabilize. Okay. Now, if the crude increases, because I projected that by 31st December, the price of crude should not be less than $70 at the rate at which are going. And by first quarter next year, don't be surprised, it could be up to $75. Okay. Government should prepare their mind now. If they cannot repair the refinery, they should look for refinery around Nigeria, have dedicated, the issue of port. Okay. Don't we know the consignment coming in? Okay. There could be a waiver. Government gives waiver.
Okay, we see how all of
that
works. To
stabilize that area. That's what I'm saying.
I know there's a lot more in here in terms of, a conversation, but we've run out of time. And so we're going to have to leave it here. But I want to thank you, gentlemen. Good budget, fine document, but it's in the implementation. That's, they say the devil is in the details. Thank you very much, Sam Daisy Olisa, economist.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Mukhtar Mohammed, stockbroker and financial analyst. Thank you, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure being here.
Indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Indeed. So that's our program today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Femi Akonde will be here. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.